Whatever they submit to you, you have to sign off.
According to the county attorney at the time, yeah.
So if you had a county council member who went out to a bunch of strip joints and came back with a $2,000 invoice submitted to you for reimbursement, you have to sign.
That's between him and the county council.
Are you aware of any restrictions on what type of training or courses may be taken by county council members and paid for by the county?
I don't know of any restriction at all, none whatsoever, in my 20 years.
Is this exhibit on 24, Mr. Preston?
Yes, sir.
And what is it?
It's an email from Mr. Thompson to me. It's got specifically a copy of the real estate appraisal course that he's going to take.
Mr. Thompson was a licensed real estate broker in South Carolina back in 2008, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
Do you think it would have been appropriate for Mr. Thompson to have the county pay for whatever continuing education requirements he might need to maintain his realtor license for his private business?
That's something he would have to answer to.
And I'm asking just in your view, from the years of experience you've had working with counties, do you think, personally, do you think that would be appropriate for a county council member to seek reimbursement for continuing education requirements needed for their private business and
For him to benefit him,
anybody? I'm talking about like any person generally.
to benefit him, it'd be his responsibility to report it on his ethics report.
Right. In your own view, do you think it would be appropriate for them to do that? Or someone to do that?
If it related to a job that individual had with the council, yes.
Do you think it would be appropriate if it related to a job they had with the county?
Yes.
What if it didn't have anything to do with the job as county council member?
No.
You wouldn't think it'd be appropriate, would you? These appraisal courses that Mr. Thompson ended up taking with the county didn't have anything to do with his service as a county councilman, did they?
Yes.
You realize he said they didn't?
I don't, whatever he said, I know they did.
You think they did? And that's between you and Mr. Thompson, who do you think is better suited to determine whether coursework taken by Mr. Thompson is going to be helpful to Mr. Thompson in doing his job?
Check the form.
You think you know better than he does?
I agree with that one. In this regard, yes.
Did Mr. Thompson ever tell you that he thought taking these appraisal courses would be helpful to him as a county council member?
I don't recall us really getting into any detailed discussion about it. He wanted to take the classes, and I thought about taking them too, so I think it'd be helpful.
You agree with me that Mr. Thompson expressed to you that he wanted to take the appraisal courses in order to help him be in a good position to get the assessor's job down the road with the county?
Not necessarily be in a good position, but in order for him to become an assessor, he would have to have these classes anyway, but I saw him that he is for him too.
So if Mr. Thompson takes appraisal courses, that puts him in a position to qualify to be the assessor, is that right?
No, you can actually get a position there without taking these courses. It's just something that you have to initially do every period of time.
So in order to continue service as the county's assessor, at some point, is it fair to say that you have to have this basic appraisal course?
To have to work as an assessor.
Right. Okay, so to work as an assessor,
Not in the beginning, you don't have to have that.
that's all I'm trying to clarify. Would you agree with me that to work as an assessor for Anderson County, at some point in time, you must complete the appraisal courses that Mr. Thompson was seeking to have the county pay for on his behalf?
Don't know the answer to that exactly. Okay. I don't know if that particular course that we took properly.
Okay. Would you agree that taking the appraisal courses would benefit Mr. Thompson personally? In some fashion or another?
I don't know.
Well, did you talk to Mr. Thompson about the possibility of hiring him to work as the county's assessor at some point in the future?
He expressed an interest in
Did you give him any feedback about that, as to whether that was a good idea or not?
I think the feedback I think we had some discussion about Mike Freeman retiring, I believe.
Mike Freeman was
He was the assessor, yeah.
in 2008.
Right. And I think my conversation consisted of whether you could work in that position at least to begin with if you want to go to work with the county. See, Freeman was going to be there for a while.
Did you know anything about Mr. Thompson's financial situation back in 2008?
No, I didn't. He was a real estate salesperson. I was doing okay.
Did he ever express to you the need to have a steady income producing job?
He wanted a job with the county. I mean, he already was working with the county. He was a county councilman. So he wanted a job with the county. He wanted to go.
And did he ever express to you a need for health insurance?
I can't recall him expressing that need. No.
Did you know that Mr. Thompson used to work for Bosch?
Yes.
Let me show you number 25. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Oh, yeah.
Is this an email that you received from Michael Thompson on Thursday, May 22nd?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what was this about?
He sent me an email wanting me to help him raise money for his campaign.
How did you respond to this email?
I didn't respond to it.
Not at all?
I saw him. I had words with him.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. If you talked to Mr. Thompson at any point about this email, what did you tell him?
I told him that not to do this kind of thing because I didn't feel like it was appropriate and that, with me because hatch activities.
In other words, you were trying to tell him, if I'm paraphrasing, tell me if I'm wrong, but you were trying to press upon him that it would not be appropriate for you to help him with a campaign on business hours, on county time.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Did you help Mr. Thompson with his campaign outside of county business hours?
No,
Did you help anyone else
No.
with their campaigns?
no.
Let's see, I'll just Mr. Preston, I'm showing you what March's plans exhibit number 26 and ask if you recognize it.
Looks like a job description. Yes, sir.
You're-
Or a job advertisement, excuse me.
In your experience as the county administrator, would it be fair to say you've seen many job advertisements from the county?
They would never come across my desk usually.
I'm just asking, did you ever see them?
Yeah, I saw them. Yes, sir.
You've
Posted,
probably seen many of them, right?
posted, yes, sir.
So you know what they look like, is what I'm getting at. And this looks like one to you, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like one dated August 5th, 2008.
Yes.
Do you recall specifically that in August 2008, the county was looking for an assistant purchasing manager?
Yes, sir. Right.
And do you agree with me that Mr. Thompson applied for this job?
Yes, he did, I believe.
What happened with that application?
Pardon?
Let me ask it this way. Did Mr. Thompson get this job as assistant purchasing manager with Andrew County?
No, he did not.
And by this time, August 2008, would you agree Mr. Thompson was what I would call a lame duck councilman? He had been defeated in the primary.
Yes.
So he was not going to be reelected.
Right.
Who got the job as assistant purchasing manager? Do you know?
Yes, it was a female internally.
Did you have any conversations with Mr. Thompson about this job?
Yes.
What conversations do you recall?
I told him that I couldn't hire him for the job, although he's very qualified for it, but we were going to hire internally.
Did you tell him anything about any future jobs that you might be able to get with the county?
This job had been a minority that currently had the position, and we wanted to promote internally. And there was I think maybe a one or two internally that was qualified for the job. So the purchasing or the director of that division, the assistant administrator, wanted to hire that person, and I just told Thompson, no, couldn't do that. I told him that there would be other positions in that department to open up later, and that he's more than qualified for.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this. because I might have missed something there. It sounds like you were telling Mr. Thompson that the assistant purchasing manager job that he had applied for in August 2008 was going to be filled by the county internally with someone else from the purchasing department.
Yes, right.
And that person's job at the time was either a buyer one or a buyer two?
Which of the, I can't remember which one was higher ranked, yeah.
So the person who filled the assistant purchasing manager job that was posted, advertised in August 2008 was a person that was already with the county as a buyer one or a buyer two. Is that fair? Did you tell Mr. Thompson that whichever position then became vacant, whether it was a buyer one or buyer two position, would be offered to him?
I couldn't remember which positions were up. We had several positions that were probably open in and around the time period. I don't know. I remember having a specific conversation with him about any positions. I do know that one of them was required not better qualifications than the other.
And is that which one you were looking for that you thought,
The job that the lady was leaving
right,
made sense to put in.
right. So whichever of the buyer positions, buyer one or buyer two, whichever of those positions had the higher qualification requirements, you thought that position would be a reasonable position for Mr. Thompson to look at?
Absolutely, to transfer into with him because of his background in purchasing and with his experience working with purchasing manager jobs.
Joey Preston is exhibit number 27. It's an email that you wrote on August 14, 2008 to Michael Thompson and Kathy Fulbright.
Yes, sir.
And in it you say to Kathy, this is to remain confidential, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're talking about Mr. Thompson's application for the assistant purchasing manager job?
I'm talking about all applications in the county need to remain confidential.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is why did you have to make a special effort, if you did, to tell Kathy Fulbright to keep this particular one confidential if all applications for employment have to be confidential?
It would be unfair to him if it wasn't just confidential.
Well, it'd be unfair to everybody who applied for the job.
That's
right. So why are you making was this a special effort on Mr. Thompson's behalf to tell Kathy Fulbright to keep his application confidential?
Not secret in any way, but just to make sure that he wasn't treated differently than anyone else.
And do you write a similar email to her every time you get an application for a county job to tell her to keep it confidential?
Anything that would have been someone who had held a public position like that, because he's not the only elected official that does get a job as well.
I guess what I'm getting at is this was an email that you don't typically send in connection with an application for employment with the county. Would you do that?
Right.
Because every single application for employment with the county is supposed to be kept confidential, correct?
That is true.
And so for whatever reason, you decided you'd send one to Miss Kathy Fulbright.
But this isn't the only application I ever told her to be confidential about. So there'll be others with it too.
Can you give me an example of another one?
Perhaps maybe, I think, what's her name? The girl that was county auditor that was defeated, who we transferred a certain name from the county auditor's office to the finance department. One. Mike Holden, who was a former county council member, he was defeated. He transferred out to the sheriff's office.
After he was defeated?
Yes, sir.
And who hired him? Somebody
Sheriff.
Let me show you how smart this is. Exhibit number 28. Now, at least the top of it is an email sent by you to Michael Thompson on August 8, 2008.
Yes, sir.
And it's in response to an email he had sent to you the same day, correct?
Yes, I don't know what the attachments are here.
Oh, I don't know.
It was related to the force worker detective.
And your email, which is on the top, indicates that you're going to prepare payment and allow him to enroll in these courses that he's talking about, the appraisal courses, right?
Yes.
So would you
Continue, I think.
sometime on or after August 8, 2008, Mr. Thompson started to take appraisal courses that were paid for by the county?
Yes, sir. Before or on.
And if you look back at what we just looked at, and it was in connection with the assistant purchasing manager job, right?
Right.
So in August 2008, Mr. Thompson has applied for an assistant purchasing manager job and asked for, or made reference to the fact that he can go ahead and start taking appraisal courses.
Yes, sir.
And in August 2008, both of these dates are after the August 5th, 2008 special council meeting where Mr. Waldrop made his motion that you were very concerned about.
Yes, sir.
So by this time, you are concerned about your anticipatory breach claim, correct?
No, I'm not.
No?
Not at that time. No. I didn't even know what anticipatory breach was at that time.
Okay, but at this point in time, you'd already inquired in the South Carolina retirement system how to buy service credit, correct?
Yes, sir. Right.
And you had indicated, I believe, you were complaining at this point in time about interference by Ms. Wilson and Mr. Waldrop with your job, correct?
I've been complaining about that for probably 2 years.
Would it be fair to say this, at least, that Mr. Thompson began taking and was taking appraisal courses that were paid for by the county during the very time that you were negotiating with the county over your severance agreement? In other words, from September 25th, 2008 through November 18th, 2008.
The time my attorney was doing that committee.
Right. Yes, sir. So during that same time frame, Mr. Thompson was taking appraisal courses and submitting them for reimbursement through the county, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were the person signing off on those requests for reimbursement, right?
That's a ministerial duty, yes, sir.
If a county employee, and I'm not talking about the sheriff's department or any of the other elected official departments, but if a county employee who reports to you ultimately wants to submit a request for reimbursement for training, say, is that more than a ministerial function on your part? Approval of such a request?
Yes.
Do you have say-so whether or not that gets approved?
For the individuals that work directly below me would have been the only ones I would say.
Let me show you exhibit number 29. While I'm at it, I'll just go ahead and show you number 30. Can you tell me what exhibits 29 and 30 are?
I can tell you what the top pages are, but I have no idea what these are.
What the follow-on pages are?
Yeah.
You've never seen such a page?
No.
I'm not talking about these specific pages, but have you ever seen pages where applicants for job openings are listed on a separate page within the county's records?
That appears to be an affirmative action report. I was looking at.
Well, that is an affirmative action report, that's what you're saying?
Yes. These would have been on the billboard downstairs in the hallway.
You have a cover page of each of these exhibits, you're saying?
Right.
And then the backup pages are affirmative action reports maintained by whom?
Personnel office.
Who has the ultimate say in who gets hired for a position like a buyer one, buyer two within the county? Is that something the county administrator decides?
I would sign off on the PAF, yes, sir.
The PAF is a what?
Personnel action form. I'd like to see one of those. You have one?
Not that I know of, no. What is it? Personnel action
What I
form?
was signed.
Signed to show what? That he was hired? Do you recall?
Transfer.
Do you recall signing a personnel action form for Mr. Thompson at some point?
Yes, sir.
You recall when?
Towards the end of November, I think.
You know what happened to it?
No.
And is it your testimony that ultimately you hired Mr. Thompson for the buyer two position that's represented in exhibit number 30?
Yes, sir.
And you did that, as you recall, sometime near the end of November 2008?
Yes, sir.
What happened to the buyer one person, do you know?
It was filled, I think. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was filled.
Do you agree that Mr. Thompson applied to both positions?
Well, yeah. Once he submitted his resume back in August, it would have been on record for several months. So any position in that department or really anywhere in the county could be eligible.
The job posting for the buyer two position reflects the date of November 19, 2008. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Would it be fair to say that the job of buyer two for Anderson County came available at some point in November 2008?
Yes, sir.
Typically, would you expect in your experience that posting corresponds fairly close in time with when the opening is available?
Yes, sir.
And so in November 2008, obviously, your severance agreement was being negotiated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson was the chair of county council, right?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Thompson was seeking to be hired in a buyer two position in the county, right?
Seeking to be hired in the purchasing department
And you were the
or the
person,
assessor's office, wherever it really is.
you were the person with ultimate authority to approve or disapprove the person selected to be hired in that position, correct?
Yes.
Did you advise anyone on the county council that Mr. Thompson was seeking employment with the county at the time that he was voting on your severance agreement?
I didn't advise anyone, no, sir.
Did this strike you as a potential conflict of interest that Mr. Thompson was going to vote in favor of a $1.1 million severance agreement for you on the day before he comes to see you to have you hire him as a buyer two within the county?
No, sir. You said the day he came before, he came to see me?
In other words, well, let me ask you this.
I don't remember that happening.
The vote occurred for the severance agreement on November 18, 2008. We can agree with that, can't we? The vote on the severance agreement.
Yes, sir.
That occurred at the county council meeting on November 18, 2008.
Right.
Do you agree that Mr. Thompson came to see you shortly thereafter, like the next day or within days of that vote?
I saw him that week, but I don't remember one day he came to see me. I don't remember that.
Do you know one way or another whether Mr. Thompson first went to see Mr. Cunningham about the buyer two position?
I don't know what he did at that time. I really don't.
And then, if I understood correctly, you read Mr. Thompson's transcript in this case, did you not?
I did.
Did you see in there where he talked about going to see Mr. Cunningham first?
I don't remember that.
That doesn't help you recall whether he did.
He came, that's right. He went to go see Michael, I guess. I don't remember what day it was.
Right.
And then he came to talk to me about it. That's right.
And do you recall that when he came to talk to you, he told you that Mr. Cunningham refused to hire him?
I don't think Mr. Cunningham had the authority to do anything at that point in time.
Do you recall that Mr. Cunningham, or did Mr. Thompson tell you that Mr. Cunningham relayed to Mr. Thompson that it would be a conflict of interest for Mr. Cunningham to hire him for this job?
I think he said it in Michael's opinion that it would be a conflict of interest.
And then after that conversation that occurred, Mr. Thompson sees you about this buyer two job, correct?
I think I'd already, I guess, I may have already hired him. So I don't know. I don't remember. I need to see a PAF to answer that.
Would you agree with me that Mr. Thompson came to you after?
We're going to take about a 5 to 10 minutes break. We'll be in recess. Thank you very much.